You wrestled Haystacks at the Spectrum in Philadelphia back in, I think, like 79.
What happened?
I'd love to find that match if I could track it down.
I can't even remember that one. You can't really wrestle these guys. It's really up to them what they want to do. What do you want to do, Haystacks? You want to walk around and step on me or pick me up and slam me? It's basically, it's going to be a one-sided match. What am I going to do with him, you know? And I don't want to knock him off his feet because you might not be able to get back up. He was not in good shape. But I don't remember that match, so it's hard to... I'm just saying what I would do in a situation that I would just wrestling very carefully. You can't pull him out, and you can't... I never like to throw people to the ropes anyway because that's so, you know, you don't do that in a real fight. So... It had to be a short match.
You keep everything in the middle of the ring, because you said about the crisscross earlier and how it doesn't really make sense in a fight. You're not going to crisscross the ring.
I try to, everything is logical to me. And when I'm out there, you know, aside from whether they think wrestling's fixed or not, my part up till the ending is real. And I'm going to, you know, I'm going to talk to my opponent. I'm going to tell him what I want to do if he's lost. But it's most of the guys that I worked with back in that day, you know, they had ring time too. So you don't need to, if you want to call something in there, you know, you can call it. But I didn't, you know, I hated backdrops. That's the most unlogical move. Throw some guy and give him a back. It's just not wrestling. Body slams is wrestling. Suplexes is wrestling. Grabbing arms, taking people down, all that kind of stuff. That's wrestling, and that's real. I always wanted to make it look real, and 90% of my shit was real. So the punches, the chops, I got into doing a lot of chops because I learned it from Wahoo McDaniel. Beat me to death all the time, so I ended up learning how to throw the chops with Ric Flair and all that in the Mid-Atlantic area.
Just a few minutes ago, you talked about with Dick Murdoch and Dusty Rhodes. You know, you worked with them as an opponent and a tag partner. How big was Dusty Rhodes back in the day, for fans that don't know?
So 74, I went in. Jack Briscoe actually got me booked in Florida because he saw me up in Buffalo, and I was pretty depressed being up there in Buffalo all the time. And I had a partnership with Donnie Fargo, but that was going away. So they brought me in, and my dad actually let me start using my real name, and Greg Valentine, but I wrestled as his brother because back in that day, my dad was in his late 40s. He didn't want everybody to know how old he was. So I understood that. So I went in there as his brother. But I went in there with Dusty Rhodes. I guess he was the booker. Eddie Graham, of course, ran everything, and he was the booker too, the promoter. Dusty was the American dream. I mean, he had great interviews. He had so much charisma. He was what was drawing the money in Florida. I mean, he had a good gang, a good crew. Shouldn't say gang, but a good crew of guys, and I was just happy to be there. And Eddie Graham would actually come and talk to us before we went out and wrestled. And, you know, he always pieced in different things, you know, put this in your match, put this in your match. He was so articulate, and it was a good, I learned so much from Eddie Graham those years. 1974, we're going to. 75, I went to LA, and then 76, I came back to Florida again.
Now that you mentioned Eddie Graham, could you tell just some of the fans about what kind of an innovator he was and how it was working with him?
Yeah, so I didn't work against him, but I worked for him, and it was great because he really was interested in the young guys, and he'd show you he wouldn't actually say you had to do all this stuff in your match, but he would show little things, segments of your match that you could throw in there. And the Graham brothers, that's where they started. Eddie and Jerry. Jerry was a crazy one. Eddie, the Graham brothers were big time in New York, and big time in New York. Tag teams, world tag team champions in the old WWF. And so he went to Florida and became the booker, and then actually bought into the territory there. So he was well seated there. And then, of course, Florida, we had Miami, and we had a lot. We had Fort Myers, we had Orlando, Tallahassee, West Palm Beach, Jacksonville, Tampa Army, and we wrestled in St. Pete too, in the big building there, Bayfront Center, and it was a great place to be. I mean, we worked probably every night except Sunday, but it was all mainly short trips. Sometimes we'd rent Old Blue. It was a DC-3 airplane. We'd fly to Miami because Miami was a long trip, and we usually did TV on Wednesdays. So by the time you got out of the interviews, you'd have to jump in a car and drive and barely make it. So a lot of us would just pile in this we called it Old Blue, and we'd DC-3 or something like that, and we'd fly down there. A couple of scary moments on that. The back door flew open one time, and but we all flew down there, did the Miami thing, went back and flew back to Tampa. A lot better than driving, because that's 350 miles, and that was before Alligator Alley was even completed. It was just a little 2-lane road, so it was a rough track in the cars back in that day.
And you didn't have all the interstates and highways that were built up, and you didn't have maps.
No Alligator Alley. You could go down to say Sarasota and Fort Myers and Naples, right down, and then you'd cut left, and now it's a big, huge freeway called Alligator Alley. But back in that day, in the 70s, it was a 2-lane road, and it was Alligator Alley, and you had alligators crawling out a lot of times. That's where I saw my first alligator, other than the zoo. And so we usually just flew. Yeah.
I ain't never needed help, I just did it by myself. It's hazardous to your health if you're coming for the belt. It's the title match. Yeah, it's the title match.